Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. We've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it.
Welcome to Undisputed. We're live from Los Angeles. Let's get right to it, guys. We just got to jump on this day because we have so much news.
Yeah, welcome,
to talk
Chris
about.
Broussard.
It's great
How
to be
are
here.
you?
Chris
Is it?
Broussard is here
we'll
today.
See if you say that
Shannon.
in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, you picked a good day.
I think you're stepping up in weight class.
Oh, well, that's true. You weigh a little more than I do.
Is that
I'll
how
give
you
you that.
think about this? All right, okay.
So, Jenny, I have done battle on occasion via social media with Odell Beckham Jr. and with Le'Veon Bell. And they got even with me last night because we were going to do a couple of segments today called Skip Rides the Troller Coaster. We got thousands and thousands of responses from all of our faithful fans, all of them clever, combative, laugh out loud.
Okay.
And guess what happened? Boom and boom happened and wiped out those segments. So thank you for all your responses. We'll do that later, but we got bigger things to talk about now.
I was really looking forward to that too, though.
I was
Were
too.
you?
I had questions ready.
Yeah.
But we will get to it at some point. It's just too much news to talk about, and
Yep.
we will talk about the big day in the NFL. We are going to start in Cleveland. Odell Beckham Jr. is leaving the Big Apple. The Giants have agreed to trade the three-time Pro Bowler to the Browns for a first-round pick, a third-round pick, and safety Jabril Peppers. Rumors of a Beckham trade have been around since last season, and our own Jay Glazer said it would happen. We're going to have him later on the show, but the Giants GM said multiple times this offseason they wouldn't trade him. Beckham has 44 touchdowns in his first 5 years in the NFL and is now joining Baker Mayfield and his former LSU teammate Jarvis Landry in Cleveland. So, Chris, how surprised are you that the Giants traded Odell?
I would say on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 5. And it's that low because it made no logical sense to me. Okay, I have it that low because I was trying to figure out why does it make sense to trade OBJ? You just signed him to, a $90 million deal? You paid him $20-something million to play 12 games? So why would you trade him? But the only reason I thought it might happen is because I have faith in Jay Glazer. I know, he doesn't throw things out there that don't stick. And because he said it and he said it with confidence and he doubled down on it when people challenged him on it, I thought maybe there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. And I'm not even sure that was the case. But when I look at it, the only public misstep that I could think of since he signed the contract was when he had the interview with Lil Wayne, and he kind of called out Eli, but a lot of people knew he was telling the truth, so I don't think that was that big of a deal.
I don't think the Giants loved it, but go ahead.
Yeah, but it was, he had no Antonio Brown type stuff. People got mad about the business decision he made on the onside kick against the Bears when he didn't dive for the ball, but that might have been a smart move for your best wide receiver not to get it. So I'm just saying it didn't make any logical sense to me, but I had faith in what Jay Glazer said. So that's why I guess I'm at a 5. But when I look at it in hindsight and I look at what Dave Gettleman's been doing, now it makes all the sense in the world because I think Gettleman, since taking over the Giants, has made bad move after bad move after bad move. And I think it started in last year's draft when Saquon Barkley was great last year. But still, he's a running back. Your quarterback was 37, 38. You need the heir apparent, and that was a huge draft. You could have got Sam Darnold. Whether you like him or not, I think Sam Darnold has a bright future.
I'm not sure about that.
But
I'm just not sure.
Okay, but I think they should have taken him. Or
I think he has
it was a quarterback-rich draft. It was a quarterback-rich draft. I think that started it. Snacks Harrison is gone. Eli Apple is gone. Olivier Vernon is gone. He's trading away the most talented people. And of all the stories I read out of New York about this deal, no one can figure out what the plan is. Are they tanking for Tua? That's the new phrase there people are throwing out in New York. I mean, that's the only thing that makes sense. The people are saying, they're rebuilding around a 38-year-old Eli. They can't be doing that. That can't make any sense. So only thing that does make sense is they're going to tank and try to get to it, but I don't think that's a good...
I assume they're going to try to get Dwayne Haskins if he doesn't fall to them at 6, that they could maybe even trade up if they have to.
And try to trade up to try to get maybe a Kyler Murray or something?
No,
but they don't
Dwayne
want
Haskins.
Kyler. Yeah, Haskins is the guy. Some people think maybe they might try to package some of these picks and go for Derek Carr.
Yep.
I don't love that, but it's just one mistake after another for Gettleman. And the fans of New York are upset, and I think rightly so.
So, let me give you my big picture on this.
Okay.
I actually liked what the Giants did. I was not at all surprised. I'm a 0 on the surprise scale, and I am looking forward to having Jay Glazer on a little later in the show. I obviously loved what Baker Mayfield and company got because I think Odell will be much more valuable in Cleveland than he would have been going forward in New York. And I want to make this case up front. The Giants got a lot in return for Odell. Trust me on this. They did get the 17th overall pick as opposed to what Pittsburgh got for Antonio because they basically had to give away Antonio. Will somebody please take take this contract off our hands? They got a 3rd and a 5th for Antonio. This is the 17th overall pick that you could package to trade up if you think you need to trade up for Dwayne Haskins. And they got another pick, third round pick, which is pretty valuable. They also got Jabril Peppers, who was, to me, one of the most improved players in the whole National Football League last year for the Cleveland Browns. I loved him at Michigan. I can't remember if you covered him
Little
bit.
I think we would have
He was
crossed paths.
Mr. Do It All,
Yeah, a little bit.
Listen, by the end of the year last year, he was a disruptive force for the Cleveland Browns. Now, Greg Williams was the coordinator, and he's not there anymore, but he was using him as a hybrid, like a walk-around safety where he was playing linebacker, edge rusher. He was doing everything. He will make, I believe, some Pro Bowls for the New York Football Giants. So don't underestimate. Again, they let Landon Collins walk for that enormous contract that he got from Washington. So I want to make it clear up front. They didn't just give Odell away.
But do you think they got equal value?
No.
I agree.
Okay,
Compared
all right,
to
but
Antonio
here's the
Brown, it
point.
looks great.
You know how this show works. You have to put your feelings, your emotions, and your opinion right here in concrete on the middle of the table. And then you have to live up to it or stand by it or back off it. I said before the Pittsburgh Steelers gave Antonio his money, no, bad idea. There's no way I'm going to invest that much money in a diva wide receiver who plays a dependent position. He's not the quarterback. He's not even the running back. He has to hope that he gets open and the quarterback finds him and throws him the football. So he can't have that much immediate impact on the scoreboard as the quarterback can. Right. So you can't pay Antonio, or in this case, Odell, that much money when they both think they've become the equivalent of your sport that you know and love, NBA stars. Antonio, Odell thought that they were LeBron James. They have huge Instagram followings. Odell way bigger than Antonio's, but still big. Nonetheless, it's 12 million to 3 million. But they both act like NBA superstars who need their way and they need their touches and they're going to pout if they don't get the football. You can't win with those kind of guys in the wrong situation. And the Big Apple that you know and love yourself because you spent a lot of time in that area, Odell was a bad fit in New York. And I was shocked they gave him that much money. They gave him the sun and the moon. And that was shortly after. Remember the Paris hotel room incident? It was soon after that they said, oh, yeah, it's still okay. We'll give you all this money. And they soon lived to regret it. And Pittsburgh soon lived to regret it. So both the Steelers and the Giants, those are two cornerstone NFL franchises, they soon realized their mistake and they undid their mistake. And when you cut bait, when you cut your losses, you're not going to get return on the dollar. For what you paid them, you're not going to get that much back. I thought Gettleman got way more back than the Steelers got, okay? So here's Odell to me. Big Apple Media, he was a walking back page tabloid headline. And once he started making those headlines and back page pictures, he felt like he had to live up to being Odell and the Big Apple. He became a caricature of himself. Got the wild hair, obviously, and then the antics started. And I don't know if we have the video. Do we have it, Chris, or not? All the incidents? You there? I think we've...
Maybe we don't have
Maybe we don't have
right
it. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not hearing you. Here we go.
Yeah.
So there's Josh Norman to start with. You remember that one?
Yep.
And then pretty soon, this just went completely over the edge. You want to talk about distractions. These are monumental seismic distractions. Then he attacks the kicking net. Remember this one? Then what do we have coming up next?
The apology.
Then he had to act like a dog, marking his territory. That didn't go over real well with the Giants or the league. You remember that? And then next up, we got the boat trip picture. Remember, they went to the playoffs only one time with Odell in 5 years. And how did he go prepare for a game at Lambeau on the frozen tundra? He took a group of receivers to South Beach for the day after a game on Sunday night. They went on Monday to South Beach, and they took that picture. And somebody posted it. I'm not sure who posted it, but it was everywhere. And then what happened at Lambeau? Early third down, key play in the game. There he is. He dropped the third down pass. And then later in the game, he dropped that pass in the back of the end zone. That's how he prepared for the game at Lambeau on a yacht in South Beach. It's not right. And then came the Paris Hotel picture, the video with the Instagram model and whatever was spread all over the bed. It's one bad look after another. He acted up, he acted out, and it just continued into last year. You're not going to win in New York with Odell Beckham Jr. So what do? You cut your losses. There's only one place that I believe Odell could maybe be successful, and it's Cleveland, Ohio. Another place that you have experience because you spent a little part of your...
I finished high school there, was a college near there, worked there.
So you know the heartbeat of that city. Obviously, a much smaller market than the New York market. So there's not the media attention on the daily basis that you get in New York. Who is there? It's not just a former teammate of his at LSU and Jarvis Landry. It's a guy that he is so close to. It's brother close. It's soulmate close. It's the one guy he'll listen to. They were born 3 weeks apart in the month of November in 1992 in the state of Louisiana. They both obviously went to LSU. They were together as brothers for 3 years at LSU. One went in the middle of the first round, because he was, the 12th overall pick, was Odell. And then late in the second round went Jarvis Landry to Miami. So now they are reunited, and I think Jarvis just might be the only man on earth that Odell will listen to. So maybe he can help keep Odell in bounds. Maybe he can keep Odell from becoming caricature Odell, who has to live up to the back page headlines, because there aren't any back pages in Cleveland, right?
None.
Okay, so I like the fit much better there with a young quarterback, Baker Mayfield, who won't take any you-know-what off anybody in the huddle. He will come right back at you. He's not boring old Eli Manning. He's got momentum to him. He's got swagger to him. He's got attitude to him. And he will gunsling. He will try anything at any moment. There's going to be momentum here. They're talking about maybe this is going to kill me. They might sign Earl Thomas to replace Jabril Peppers. Well, that's momentum that Odell, on a short term, for a year or two, could get swept up in, and maybe he would be not on his best behavior, but on better behavior. So it wasn't going to work in New York. It might work hugely in Cleveland. So I don't know what's not to like about this, because what is the history showing you in New York? He went, Odell, in the games he started in New York, they were 25-34. They did make that one playoff game, and that's what he gave you back for that. Okay, do you love that? Do you trust it going forward? Because Dave Gettleman finally, it was his mistake. He gave him the money, and then he said he wasn't going to trade him. I didn't sign him to trade him. Well, and then he finally said, you know what, I think we better undo this.
From everything I'm hearing, they kept him and gave him the money and kept him because of Pat Shurmur. Shurmur was like, look, give me 1 year with the guy and see if it'll work. But I'm with you, giving him all that money. It didn't make sense if you weren't sure about him. Everything you brought up on that video, Skip, though, it had one thing in common. It was all from previous seasons, not last year. The dog marking his territory, proposing to the net.
Okay,
all that was from last
all
year.
Of why I wouldn't give him the money.
Okay? I get that more than this, what they've done now. Even the video with the Instagram model in Paris, that was before they paid him.
It was.
Is it possible that he was maturing? We know he was on his best behavior to get the deal. But then once he got the deal, again, outside of the Lil Wayne interview, Which you're right. I know the Giants didn't love that. But still,
They didn't. I know for a fact they didn't.
Oh, no, I'm sure they did.
And the other weird thing was Lil Wayne told me that he thought he had been invited to be with Josina Anderson just one-on-one. And then all of a sudden, Odell shows up, and before Wayne knows what's happening, Odell is spilling. He's just like spilling his guts about the Giants because he loves Lil Wayne and he's comfortable and all, and he likes Josina, and he's just like, here we go. And it got pretty down and dirty. Again, was he telling the truth? Yes.
Yes, he was.
Did his management that gave him all that money love it? They did not. And I still believe that was the last straw, in effect.
It may have been, but I don't think it was that huge of a straw. I get it. I get why management
maybe
didn't
not
like
in a step back perspective, but it's like, boy, we gave him this money. And do you remember how many times Odell talked about, I'm going to be the leader of this football team.
Yep.
And then he is criticizing a quarterback. Again, what's left of the quarterback most Giants fans want no more part of, the one they're stuck with going forward. Although he did beat Tom Brady twice in Super Bowls, you got to give him that, and that's why he's still alive, so to speak, in football terms.
But they're 6-15 without Odell. You brought up the record. That wasn't great with him, but it's a lot better than 6-15. And where are they going? This is the NFL nowadays. There's no 5-year rebuilding plans. Is that what the Giants are trying to put together? A 5-year plan? Who's going to be the next quarter? Are they that high on Haskins? Are they going to wait till next year and try to get to it? Like, what is the plan? You had a guy in OBJ. You had a guy in now Saquon Barkley. If you get a quarterback in there, now you've got the receiver and the running back. I just don't understand what they're doing. And then they've got, financially, it doesn't help them. And not in the short term, because for this upcoming season, they got $34 million in dead money. That's the most in the league.
Okay, I can't disagree with anything you're saying. I'm just telling you they made a huge mistake. And the old saying is you don't throw good money after bad, meaning once you realize your mistake, you got to start fresh. You got to clear the decks. I don't know what the plan B was. I know what plan A was. We got to get out from under this deal, and if we can get somebody to take it off our hands.
I'll give you that. I like Peppers. I liked him at Michigan. He didn't have a great rookie year last year.
He had a hard rookie year, but listen, all the way home, the last 8 games, because they got hot, Baker got hot, the team got hot, and he was the hottest on defense. And again, it scares me a little bit for the Browns' sake that Greg Williams is no more. I actually wanted him to be the head coach because he has head coaching experience and he has a commanding presence to him. And now Freddie Kitchens has never even been a coordinator except for that little stretch last year. And he's thrust into being the head coach of this.
With a lot, what I was going to say, with a lot of personalities.
So a lot of personalities.
I think Baker is now unquestionably the leader of the team. And maybe the adult in the room, maybe the unofficial head coach of the team is Baker Mayfield.
I don't know if we thought we'd be saying that.
I don't know.
I do agree with you, though. He's got a strong enough personality, Baker, to, I think, handle Jarvis and OBJ.
I think so.
I do agree with that.
So now, what do you have in Odell? He just got humbled because you can't tell me this didn't knock him on his rear end a little. Like he woke up this morning thinking, the New York Giants just gave up on me. They just sent me packing. They sent me to Cleveland. Now, again, I think he would have vetoed Cleveland except for Jarvis. So Cleveland is so lucky to have Jarvis Landry. Again, LeBron used to be there, but LeBron's not there anymore, and it seemed a little desolate without him. So now it's starting over. And I do think that this morning that Cleveland fans miss the king a little less than they used to. Am I
heard
right?
one fan say this is bigger than when LeBron came back on.
Really?
Some show, yeah.
Really?
I don't go that far, but that's what they're saying. Because Cleveland is a football town. Ohio's a football state. Cleveland
I've
is
said that
definitely
from
a
the
football
start. I'm
city.
glad you were
No
reinforcing
question.
that.
No question.
They would be a little happier if they won a Super Bowl as opposed to LeBron coming back on Golden State.
Honestly, not a little happier, much happier. It's that big of a football city.
Okay.
And state. That's why I always say this often. LeBron would have been an NFL player because when you're all state in Ohio, that's saying something.
It's saying something. I believe he would have been a really good NFL player if he didn't mind getting hit. And I don't know. He seems like he's Iron Man. If he didn't pull his groin, he'd be okay.
He'd probably been a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. So here you have Odell with a new chip on his shoulder. Like you did that to the New York City just gave up on me. Okay, watch this. So I think you're going to get at least one watch this season from Odell. If it goes right, he'll be happy. If it goes wrong, if Jarvis starts getting too many balls, because Jarvis is a big ball catcher. Right. Like he's going to get lots of balls. He led the league in catches 2 years ago at Miami. And he's a slot receiver, and he gets open a lot, and Baker likes him. Baker loves him. Yep. And they got Njoku, and they got Antonio Callaway, and they got Rashard Higgins. So there are lots of targets. So I don't know how happy Odell will be on productivity, but on winning, if they get off hot and stay hot and make the playoffs, I think he'll be just fine.
Well, you heard the report Ian Rapaport put out there that OBJ may already want to renegotiate his contract.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay. Now, there seems to be all types of reports out there about what actually is guaranteed in that $90 million deal. What I've seen is that only $17 million is guaranteed, and that's all in this season coming up. So if that's the case, he may want to do it before this season. Then there's other reports saying it's $40 million or $65 million. So there's conflicting stuff out there, but that's not something you wanted to hear on the first night you traded for OBJ, that he may want to renegotiate. And he had quotes to NFL Network, OBJ, where he clearly was shocked. As you said,
you're right.
He said, I'm trying to process this. It is what it is. It's life. So I agree. I think he has been humbled. If he had been traded to the Rams or L.A., I don't think he would have felt that bad about it. But you're right, in Cleveland. But I think he's going to get enough balls because the good thing about he and Jarvis, they're different types of receivers. Jarvis is going to be that possession guy, but the big play guy will be OBJ. And then you have so many other weapons that they're not going to be able to just focus on OBJ. So I think he's going to be really productive there.
If they could even get one huge year out of him, that would be worth the price of admission.
You don't think this is a long-term thing, though, I can tell.
I don't know. I just don't trust. Odell knows how I feel about him. I think he has a good heart. I think his heart's in the right place. His head's not always in the right place. And, again, he became so big off the greatest catch in the history of the world against my Dallas Cowboys on a night the Cowboys actually won the game. I don't think he ever recovered from that. And again, it happened in New York. It happened in the Big Apple. It's hard once you get that kind of idolatry and social media acclaim and you have 12 million Instagram followers, it's hard to come back from that to how do we win the game? What do I have to do as part of the unity of a football team to help us win a championship? I don't think he has any idea of how to do that. Maybe Jarvis will help him there. Maybe Baker will help him. I don't know. He just needs a new set of variables around him. He needs a big change of scenery and a new way, a new approach. Because in New York City, he had to keep living up to being Odell Beckham Jr. And when you have to keep living up, then you're going to act out and you're going to act up. You're going to keep doing things that distract the football team. On all my years covering pro football, there was only one receiver I ever considered a leader, and it was Michael Irvin in Dallas. He was unquestionably the leader of a team that should have won 4 straight Super Bowls and did win. They won.
The only one for you. That's interesting.
Yeah.
The only leader.
Yeah.
But remember,
he had a little.
And he had a whole lot of stuff going on off the field.
But
he couldn't lead himself off the field.
Okay.
But that was after they started winning. But when it was time to work, when it was time to practice, he might be 5 minutes late for practice. But when it was time, got after.
OBJ is a hard worker.
He is. Everybody says
he's a hard worker, and he was a leader in that. The teammates loved him. Now, whether or not he was leading them the right way, but he was a leader.
Didn't they all celebrate and dance together when he said
Yeah, they loved him.
But that says something. That says something.
I think
Either
it was
way,
great for the Browns and horrible for the Giants.
we're going to be talking a lot about both these two teams. Anyways, we thought Odell might be the only thing, the big news, but no. Le'Veon Bell as well. Did he cost himself a whole lot of money? We'll discuss everything there next.
No mercy.
Hey guys, Jenny Taft here. This Saturday night, don't miss the biggest pay-per-view fight of the year. 2 of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world put their perfect records on the line. Errol Spence Jr. takes on Mikey Garcia for the World Welterweight Championship live from AT&T Stadium. Spence Jr. versus Garcia. Saturday, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, live on pay-per-view. Order now.
No mercy.
Le'Veon Bell has a new address, and it's in New York. The three-time Pro Bowler agreed to a 4-year deal with the Jets for just over $52 million with $35 million guaranteed. Bell sat out all of last season because of a contract dispute with the Steelers, and he will actually make less per year than he was slated to make under the franchise tag with Pittsburgh. So, Skip.
So, Jenny.
Did Le'Veon win or lose on this deal?
Le'Veon lost hugely. I actually feel a little sorry for Le'Veon. I know for a fact he lost $14.5 million last year. He just left it right there on the franchise tag table. The rest of it gets a little hazy to me. I see different numbers about the contract. He didn't get a bad deal. In fact, he got a pretty good deal. I think he got the second best running back deal going currently to Todd Gurley. But he wanted to break the bank. He wanted by far the best deal, and he was very, very lucky to get what he got. Because in the end, if you believe all the reports, nobody but the Jets wanted Le'Veon Bell. Everybody was out except the Jets. And they wound up at 0 hour, sort of against the clock, betting or sort of negotiating against themselves. And they could have lowballed him worse than this.
Right.
I'm going to guess that their thinking was, we got to at least go to here, because if we don't go to here, we're going to have an unhappy camper coming to us, right? And they don't want that because Le'Veon can get real unhappy real fast, especially in New York. Now we got the flip of Odell, because now we got Le'Veon going to New York, where he will light up for the back page headlines and pictures and all the New York media, because he's a frustrated wannabe rapper, and so he will be.
Did he release his mixtape?
Oh, yeah.
He did.
The timing was very interesting
He
with
did.
all the news.
It's all right. It's all right.
You listened to some of it?
I listen to some. I do, because he did one about
Listen
me
to
last
he
year.
didn't do a remix of that.
No, I don't think you were.
I didn't hear that one, but I know that's his second career aspirations.
Sure.
That's his goal. So that's fine. So he'll love that, being in New York. But remember, his first 5 years in this league, he had the second most touches. His last year in Pittsburgh, 2017, he led the league in touches. So some of the tread is gone from that tire. He did get 1 year to refresh and to at least save himself for that year. He's still a young football player. He's not a young running back. So he's still a little bit of a gamble, because to me, he's entering the backside of his running back career. And I always say this about Ezekiel Elliott, my guy in Dallas. It's going to be a short window. You know, the window's not going to stay open very long, because he's a high collision back. So I'm hoping they can max it out over the next 2 or 3 years, because after that, it's going to be diminishing returns. And I think Le'Veon has hit diminishing returns portion of his career. So now he's been used to competing for championships, because every year in Pittsburgh, I think they went into the season thinking, if we can just beat the Patriots this time, we got this, right? Now he's going to the Jets, and I give the Jets no shot next year. I'm sorry, to do anything. I don't know, because what do they have? You know, we just talked about Sam Darnold. I like him. I just don't love him. He had, as usual, a rocky rookie year. He had some moments. He had some blips. He had a couple of wow games where you'd say, okay, that could work. And he finished 29th in the league in QBR. And he was 17 touchdowns to 15 interceptions. And he completed a grand total of 58% of his passes, which was the third worst. And the two worst were the two Joshes below him, the two other rookies, Allen and Rosen. So he didn't really light it up. He wasn't Baker Mayfield. And I said going in, I'm taking Baker number one, and Baker's going to be much better than Sam Darnold to me, and I think you see that start from last year. So they added the Jets, Jameson Crowder. They still got Robbie Anderson, Anunwa. It's okay, but they're still stuck in the Patriots division. And Brady's not getting any older. I know he's chronologically getting older, but he's not. He's just not. He's still Tom Brady. So he's going to be 42, and he's going to play like he's 28. Right. So they're still going to own this division. Will Adam Gase change life? Maybe not. But I can make a case that the best offseason acquisition that the Jets have made is a guy I talked about in the opening segment, Greg Williams.
Yep.
I love Greg Williams. He changed life in Cleveland. He brings an attitude to a defense unlike anybody I've seen since like Buddy Ryan days, you know, where he just changes the way you attack.
Yep.
And I can make a case he's more valuable to me than the Le'Veon addition to the Jets right now.
Skip, I wish I could disagree with you, but I do agree. And Le'Veon, I was saying for the last several months, nobody in their right mind is going to break the bank for a running back in this day and age. I thought when the Rams signed Todd Gurley, good for him, but I was like, they didn't have to do that.
Okay.
And now you see he's got some knee issues now, so that may end up being a bad contract. I don't think that helped Le'Veon. The only way you think this was a good deal for Le'Veon is if you think if he had played last year, he was going to get hurt, and then he wouldn't have got a contract. That's the only way.
Okay.
Otherwise, you have to view this as a bust. As you said, he's taking a lower annual salary. If he had taken the $14 million last year and had what I believe would have been a typically productive year, gotten that $14 million, he could have gotten this same exact deal, if not maybe better, because a lot of NFL teams were not happy with the fact that he sat out a year. In football, especially any sport, but in football, where your life literally is pretty much on the line every game, you have to be all in. And a guy that is willing in his prime to sit out a year when you could make $14 million, it wasn't guaranteed. You would have got that $14 million last year. You willing to sit out, that makes people question, are you really all in? Are you really, going to
agree.
So I think that hurt him. And that's why the market was so low. In last year, a Jets fan tweeted to Le'Veon, we will give you $60 million to come to the Jets, right? And Le'Veon tweeted back, that's not enough money to run for the Jets. So he didn't want to go there.
Yikes.
He had no other offers. He completely misplayed this. And so those are all the financial things. But to your point, now you're going from a team in Pittsburgh that every year, and I think it's going to be the same thing this year, they are thinking deep playoff run, if not the Super Bowl. Even without Le'Veon and Antonio Brown, I think they're going to regroup. Tomlin's going to regain control of that team, and I think they're going to be pretty good. I think there's a team in the division better than them now, but I think the Steelers are going to be pretty good. And now he's going to a team hasn't made the playoffs in the last 8 years. And the receivers are okay. They would added Jamison Crowder. They're all right. You got a second-year quarterback who I do think he's improving. And his last month's QBR was really high. Right. So I think the winner in this deal, and you're right. Look, it's not a bad contract, but compared to what Le'Veon wanted, what was he saying? $17 million plus per year. So this had to humble him, and now he's got the money. And at this stage of his career, at 27, with all the wear and tear, I don't think it's gonna be like you might say with some guys, even Odell. Okay, he's coming out with a chip on his shoulder because the Giants traded him. He loves New York. He's gonna show him. I don't know if Le'Veon's gonna be thinking that way.
I don't think so either.
Right?
And if it gets off wrong, if they start to lose, he's got some of the negative Odell in him. He will pout and he will sulk and he will make waves. If they're not running it enough and they're losing or whatever his issues are, they will come out. He is free with his speech. He will take on management.
A diss track or something.
Yes, he will.
I tell you the one winner I believe in this deal were the Jets. They had plenty of cap room. They didn't have to overspend to get him. I do think, like you said, they went a little higher than they had to. Maybe they were fooled by some of the reports that were leaked out there that other teams are after him.
You just feel like you have to do this or you bring him in where he feels like he's frustrated from the start. Like if you're going to go get that guy who thinks he's another guy who thinks he's got some NBA superstar in him, you better pay him a reasonable amount, and this is reasonable. You can't shame him with the deal. You can't completely lowball him or you're not going to get anything out of him. And again, they had the money to spend. They need star power. And for one day, they will win the back page headlines in New York because obviously the Giants look pathetic at this moment.
Well, I think he'll help Darnold too. I think he's going to be a huge help. He's a running game, but he's also a great receiver. So he's going to be able to check down with Le'Veon. I think he's a big help for this team and for Darnold. I agree with you. I don't think they'll be very good, but I think he'll help Darnold.
Step in the right direction, either way.
No mercy.
We're going to go back to the Browns. They have been extremely busy this offseason. Last night, they agreed to trade for Odell Beckham Jr., and this comes after they signed Kareem Hunt and added Olivier Vernon and Sheldon Richardson on defense. And the other teams in their division have lost some key pieces. The Steelers no longer have Le'Veon Bell, which we just talked about, and Antonio Brown, and the Ravens have lost several key players on defense. So, Skip, how about this question? How good are the Browns now?
Before I get to all the positives, and there are many, and they are off the charts, a couple of negatives, and they're big ones. I just mentioned Greg Williams. It's a huge loss on defense. I still can't understand how they didn't keep Greg Williams. They didn't even, I know he wanted to be the head coach. I think his personality is so big and strong, and he's so defiant, and he's such his own man that I think the GM, John Dorsey, finally said, I can't live with that as my head coach. Like, Dorsey wants a little more hands-on control. He wants more Jerry Jones-esque, where I run this. The head coach will answer to me, and I don't think Greg Williams is going to answer to him. And obviously, Greg Williams, Hugh Jackson butted heads through hard knocks, and Greg is, he's a force.
You think he'd be a good head coach?
I can't sell him off his track record because he was before and it didn't work out. He's just a great defensive coordinator. I think he was born to be a defensive coordinator, and I wish they could have kept him as their coordinator. They're going to lose on defense, and I don't think the defense is going to be able to live up to the offense. They lost Jabril Peppers unless, and there are reports, at least there's one report, that they're in on the Earl Thomas Derby. If they sign Earl Thomas, all bets are off. I take back everything I just said. I don't know if they're going to pull this off. It would be to my regret because I still think my Cowboys are in that. I just still have this feeling Jerry Jones is going to go get that deal done. But they have money. They have momentum. They got superstars now. And I'm sure Earl's saying, wow, maybe Cleveland is the place to be. You know how players are. Oh, yeah. You see it in the NBA where all of a sudden, that's where, let's all go there.
Yep.
Okay, let's team up there. So it would be the equivalent of LeBron, D-Wade, Bosh, like it has that kind of feel to it all of a sudden in Cleveland. So I would take it all back. I also don't love Freddie Kitchens as the head coach. Again, never even a coordinator except for a brief stretch last year. He just came out of nowhere. Baker loves him. They clicked. They connected. He's like a big brother to Baker Mayfield. Sure. Well, is that your head coach? Well, I think John Dorsey is now effectively the head coach as the Jerry Jones of the franchise. Is that going to work? Is Freddie Kitchens going to be able to handle, as you said, all the new personalities? I don't know. Now let's go to the positives. There's no better receiving core than this receiving core. On paper, with Odell and Jarvis alone, you got, as long as they're happy, as long as everybody is okay with their productivity, I like Antonio Callaway. He made big plays for Baker Mayfield last year. He can fly. He's got off-the-field issues coming out of Florida, but last year he had some huge he can run by people. Yep. And Rashard Higgins has a deep, good connection with Baker Mayfield. And Njoku has a good connection. He can really catch it and run with it. He's a big force. Nick Chubb came on and took over the running back position. And they still have Duke Johnson. And obviously, sitting out there is Kareem Hunt from Cleveland, Ohio. Yep. I think he's going to be suspended for at least 8 games. It could be the whole year. I mean, it could be. I don't know what it's going to be. But he is now property of the Cleveland Browns. Let's say he came back in week 9 or 10 or whenever it would be. That would be a new big pop of star power because obviously he's a force. And on defense, they've added Olivier Vernon, and I don't like Sheldon Richardson. I just don't like his intangibles. No. It's like he's got losing intangibles to me, but he's a good player. He's got ability, and yet they lost Jabril Peppers and Greg Williams. So right now, I still think Pittsburgh's still a little bit better than Cleveland. Just really? A little bit better. Yep.
I've got Cleveland winning the AFC North.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's the Clevelander in me, because as you said, I did live there in high school. But I believe, look, what we saw offensively last year was really good with Baker at the end. And now you've added obviously OBJ. You didn't mention Nick Chubb, so
No,
even
I did.
before Kareem Hunt gets back,
Yeah.
they got the running game. You were right. I agree with you on the receiving core. It's terrific. I do think Williams is a loss, and I'm concerned about that. But I still, even losing Peppers, you got Denzel Ward. You just got Demarius Randall. Like, they still got some
And
corner.
Myles Garrett is
Yeah,
obviously,
exactly. And so they can cover. I think defensively they're going to be fine even without Williams. Kitchens, everybody there talks about how he has such a great feel for the offense. And he was 5-3 when he was calling the plays. Now, I do wonder, is this, kind of, like you said, he's a big brother to Baker rather than a father type figure. And how will that work as head coach? We've seen this before in the NBA. You've seen it at times in the NFL. The guy that the players really like sometimes has trouble commanding the room. And does he have that background? And I don't know his personality or whatever. We'll see if he can command the room. That's kind of a concern. But I think OBJ will be happy because his boy Jarvis is there. And I think Baker, they'll have a lot in common, those three. We already seen Baker tweeting out, Instagram pictures or whatever. And so I think Baker is a strong personality. I think if there's a problem in that huddle, if somebody wants more targets, he will be able to handle it.
He is in your face.
Yes.
He will express himself right nose to nose to you. He will take nothing off nobody in a huddle or a locker room. So he'll be the commander of this team and this offense, and I think it'll be good for Odell to try to blend in instead of take over and be the only player on offense, basically.
And whether or not, like I said, I feel confident in predicting they'll win the division. But I think the Steelers will be tough. I'm not sold on Lamar Jackson. I don't know if he can survive a whole season. And if he does cut back the running, which he needs to do, how effective will he be? So I'm not sold on them. Obviously, Cincinnati, I think, is kind of rebuilding, I guess. So even if the Browns don't win the division, I think they're in the playoffs. I think this is a better team, even with the loss of Greg Williams, than they were last year, and they won 7 games. So I think this is a playoff team for sure.
Probably heart over head for me, but I immediately tweeted last night, welcome to the playoffs and Pro Bowl, Baker Mayfield.
I liked it.
And so I'm with you. My heart says this is a playoff team. And then after I slept on it, I started thinking about the defense. I don't know. Can the defense hold up?
Fair enough.
A lot of times last year it didn't hold up. A lot like at Oakland. Do you remember it became a shootout?
Right.
And Baker was extraordinary, and they lost to the Raiders in Oakland because the defense didn't hold up.
But in this offense, and I'm not going to put it on Kansas City's level, because I don't think Baker, as much as I like him, he's not Pat Mahomes.
No, but he's in the ballpark.
You think?
He is in the ballpark. He can wing it.
I don't know if he's in the town. I like him, but that's a big town. But anyway, it looks like, does it not look like they're putting together something similar? Dorsey obviously was the architect in Kansas City. It looks like they're putting together something similar. You got the great receivers. You got the running game.
Well, if it follows
obviously
the Kansas
Kareem
City
Hunt
pattern, then they won't have any defense, right?
But that's my point. Will this defense, can it be, I think it unquestionably can be as good, I'd say better than Kansas City's defense last year.
I would agree with that.
So
it wasn't very good.
So if the offense is close to KC and the defense is a little better than Kansas City's last year, even though they picked it up in the playoffs, I think that they can be all right.
Okay. My point on the Steelers, they will be a little better off, without AB, without Le'Veon. And the reason they will, I just like James Conner. He is lunch pail carrying, blue collar, comes to. I just looked at the numbers last year, and the numbers said Le'Veon. Does he have the star power? No, he doesn't. Does he have the sort of mystique, the reputation? Does he bring the aura of Le'Veon Bell on the football field? He does not, because he plays little big, like he even looks little to me in his pads, but he packs a wallop. And that Jalen Samuels, I keep bringing him up because against New England last year in a big Pittsburgh win, the backup running back had 142 yards on 19 carries. And I said, where did he come from? So you got a 1-2 punch. I like Juju. I just think I like his intangibles. I like his confidence. I like that he, did he Instagram the picture? I think it was.
Kind of a
said,
call
get
out.
ready. And
Right
it was
away.
a call out of
Because it was
Antonio.
a Raiders picture.
Yeah, it was.
AB was right
And on
in the
that
background.
play,
Yeah.
that was the play where Antonio threw his arms up like, I'm
Correct.
open. And Juju initially ruled out, and then they reviewed, and it was in. And he said, his caption was, I'm ready.
Yeah, you wonder if there was something there because it seemed like Antonio kind of went south again when Juju was named MVP.
He did.
Sure.
I interviewed Juju at the Super Bowl.
Did
and
you?
and he talked about how, like, we asked him about Ben calling the players out, and he said, look, he doesn't say anything publicly that he hadn't said to us privately.
Yeah.
So he was all in on it. You know, I get it. He's a young player. Maybe he's buying in, drinking the Kool-Aid, but he seemed like he had the right attitude. And look, this is what they've done with receivers. I mean, just go all the way back to who? And with Plaxico Burress, and, you know, Mike Wallace and Hines Ward. They just move on, and somebody steps in and fills the void. And you mentioned Connor. The numbers, I agree, he's not as electric as Le'Veon, but the numbers were better.
They were just,
Not equal, better.
They were better.
Yards per carry,
Yeah.
yards
He
per
got
catch,
hurt at the end of the
20-plus
year.
yard
Right.
runs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree, and I think Tomlin, again, is
Listen,
going to regain
I'm gonna
control.
say it one more time. James Washington at Oklahoma State was a game breaker.
Absolutely.
He had issues with Ben. Ben was all over him as a rookie last year. Just watch him rise and shine and emerge in the wake of AB. I still think Pittsburgh on defense, remember, they were tied for first in sacks last year. That cupboard is not bare. So I'm still giving them a slight edge, but I would hope that you're right about 2 AFC North teams make the playoffs, because I would love to see Baker Mayfield thrive right into the playoffs.
Boy, how things can change in 2 years. Remember that winless season? Feels like a distant memory 2 years ago. They've come a long way. And the last time they won the division, 1989. So that was 3 years before
I was living
OBJ
in
was
Cleveland
born.
at that time.
Did you celebrate?
I was in college.
Did it feel like a long time ago? Or maybe
Yes.
they can get back
Jenny,
to it.
remember what I said? LeBron leaves, Baker arrives.
Yeah, you know, you did say
like-
that. I'm going to give you that one. I've been on with you on the Baker train all along, and this thing
Can Baker
is just
handle not being
speeding
the
up.
biggest personality?
Yeah. He'll thrive off that too.
Can
It'll
he?
just
Really?
motivate him to
Compete.
what? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They'll
All right.
compete for the spotlight, and actually, I think that could work in their favor. But there is one team that hasn't done anything in
What?
free agency, and here's the thing: it's Skip's Cowboys. So
Okay,
what is going on
I'm-
in Dallas?
I'm leaving.
No, stay,
I'm out.
stay. We'll
Thank you.
discuss next.
No mercy.
Let's get to Skip's Cowboy, shall we? Now, former Cowboy Cole Beasley will sign a 4-year, $29 million deal with the Bills. He was looking for $20 million guaranteed, but will get just over $14 million guaranteed. Beasley spent his first 7 seasons in Dallas, had 65 catches last year. A fan called out Beasley's decision on Twitter yesterday, saying, quote, "Big mistake, Bills can't, won't win." Beasley responded saying, "Was at the Cowboys for 7 years. We didn't win either. I'll be all right." Ouch. Skip, what is going on in Dallas?
I wish I knew. I am once again horrified by this. This is deja voodoo. This is last offseason all over again. How many times did you have to hear me say, what are you doing? Or more appropriately, what are you not doing?
Yeah.
Is Jerry Jones napping once again through the offseason? Because I have put all my eggs in one off-season basket, and it is the Earl Thomas basket. For Jenny, what's it been? It feels like it's been 2 years. I have wanted Earl Thomas because it was 2 years ago in Dallas,
Really,
2 seasons
basically
ago,
has, yeah.
when he chased Jason Garrett up
You're right.
the runway, up the tunnel to the locker room. Come on, come get me. I want to play for you. He grew up in South Texas, in the, I think it's the Beaumont, Port Arthur area, which is way south. But he's a Texas kid. He went to the University of Texas,
Sure.
and his lifelong dream has been to play for the Dallas Cowboys. I've been a lifelong Dallas Cowboy fan. It's the perfect fit. And then he stuck it to me in Cowboy Nation last year in Seattle. He took the game over. He's always Johnny on the spot. He's got some of the best safety instincts I've ever seen. He's a little big man who has a dramatic impact on the game and the scoreboard. He happened to be in the right place at the right time twice last year to grab interceptions up off the carpet from Dak Prescott that were tipped or dropped. I need him. I want him. He brings a presence to a defense from his Legion of Boom days that makes you official. It makes everybody in the locker room think, okay, now we got a guy on defense. last year you had more of a collection of parts, and there are a lot of kids, and obviously Van Der Esch started to come along, Jalen Smith. These are going to be really good Pro Bowl caliber linebackers, but you don't have that guy who's got the credentials that you say, oh, he can lift it, he can take us over the top and into the Super Bowl, because I think there's enough talent on the overall football team, especially on offense, to make it to the Super Bowl. But you need a guy on defense. You need a leader. You need a presence. You need a dominator in the secondary. And I know Earl's had 2 huge leg injuries. He's broken his leg twice, and they're career-threatening. So I don't know what his physical condition is right now, but I'm going to suspect, because he's a workout warrior, he's going to be okay as he starts to edge into his early 30s. Yep. So go get him. And now I have to read reports today. I know they're speculative, but that Cleveland's in on Earl Thomas. And we just talked about it. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he joins the flow to Cleveland. All of a sudden, all signs point to Cleveland, Ohio. That's the destination now for the talent on the market. Well, that's just going to destroy me, because Cole Beasley is really good. And I know you can knock him because he's so little. He is miniature. He's like 5'8", 170. And people thought last year he didn't have a very good year compared to the one he had it was Dak's rookie year 3 years ago. He caught 75 balls in Dak's rookie year from Dak. He caught 65 last year. He's one of the best slot receivers in football. Is he Edelman? No, because Edelman has him by 20 pounds and about 2 or 3 inches. So Edelman's...
But if he was in New England, he might be.
Okay, maybe.
Or
you know what?
That's better.
It's a good point, because I'm not sure there's anybody quicker out of the slot than he is. I know Jarvis Landry is better, obviously, as an overall receiver and route runner, but Cole Beasley is really good, and he will be missed. Is he a difference-making game changer, life changer? Amari Cooper is. So you got Amari. So I don't know if Jerry is resting on his laurels, but it took Jerry until midseason last year to say, you know what? I should have done something in the offseason. What did I keep saying? You can't do this by committee. Yeah. Because they just had a bunch of guys at receiver, and finally he went and got the guy.
Finally.
And it changed life, because they went on a 7-2 run that could have been better. He was there on that debacle nightmare night. His first game was that Monday night game against Tennessee. But then if you X that one out, they went 7-1 down the stretch, and they obviously won a playoff game. And yet you can't trust that Amari is he's going to get triple covered next year if you don't have anybody to take any heat off him. Remember, they had Allen Hurns, who was very good last year, and then he had a career-threatening injury against Seattle. And I don't know I hope he's going to be okay. Michael Gallup emerged as a rookie. I think he's going to be pretty good. You know, maybe not a Pro Bowl player, but pretty good. And Jason Witten coming back, is that going to change your life? I doubt it. So, again, I look at the big picture on defense. They lost Randy Gregory, and they never really had David Irving. And DeMarcus Lawrence is going to be unhappy because he's tagged. And what? I don't know. I keep saying, do something, Jerry. Just do something. And instead, Cole Beasley departs, and he's happy because he's got some money.
Going the opposite direction.
Going the opposite.
Skip, I think your heart has you overreacting. I know you love the Cowboys.
Well, I do, and I always say I'm psycho. I mean, I do. I completely overreact, and I'm over-emotional about it. But I think I'm right about this, that they need to do something to react.
Well, look, we know in the future, whether some of it's this year or not, they got to pay Dak. They're going to have to pay Zeke.
Yep.
They're going to have to pay Amari Cooper. With all of that
remember,
coming up on the horizon.
The offensive line.
Right.
We hope Travis Frederick will be back next year.
So with all that on the horizon, can they afford to pay Cole Beasley? He wanted $20 million guaranteed. He got 14.
He did.
I think they were like, look, we want Cole back at a reasonable price, what they think is reasonable, which was a lot less. But we're not going to put ourselves in financial straits with these guys for Cole Beasley. And it could be a positive for you with Earl Thomas. Maybe that money that some of it would have went to Beasley, maybe they'll use it to get Earl. Because, look.
Can you guarantee me that? I'll be okay.
Look, if it comes down to Cleveland or Dallas, he's already won a Super Bowl. I think with him, it's money. And maybe Cleveland would outbid the Cowboys. But I think if it comes down to those two and money is kind of close, even though Cleveland may be better, I think he picked Dallas. As you said, he grew up in Texas. He wants to play for the Cowboys.
I think it's
and you can win there too, right?
But you're going to have to give them a little bit of home state discount, just a little bit, because the word out of his camp is he wants top safety money. And do you see what Landon Collins got from Washington?
Yeah. He's
Yikes.
probably not getting that.
Well, it's just break the bank. It's like crazy money, and you can't go crazy when you do have a bunch of stars that you haven't paid yet.
Right.
You got 3 big ones on offense.
Here's the other thing, and I know how important Beasley has been to Dak in his 3 years, and he is a very good slot receiver. However, isn't it fair to say come playoff time, he was a third option behind Gallup. I mean, obviously Amari is number 1 behind Michael Gallup. I think he was a third option. Hearns, we think he'll be back. I think
hope so. I just don't know.
Yeah.
And then you got Tavon. Maybe they bring back Tavon Austin.
I had high hopes for Tavon, and then he went LeBron on me. He didn't just pull his groin. I think it just tore because he was gone for much of the year.
Yeah, it was underwhelming.
And then he just didn't. He had a couple of moments, but he wasn't that guy. And he doesn't. He's a weird mix up. He can run reverses better than he can catch it, and he's more of a deep threat than a slot receiver, but he's a little quick guy, but he's got speed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's different, but he doesn't have Cole Beasley's route running instincts. Beasley would be, like you said, he'd be the perfect fit for Tom Brady.
But Beasley, I'm glad he got his money. He's going to disappear.
You think so?
We've heard the last.
Well,
who's
Buffalo
throwing
might
him the ball?
disappear.
That's what I'm saying.
Josh Allen
can run.
He can really run.
He can run, but is he going to throw him the football?
He led the quarterbacks in rush yards. He was beyond Cam. He's beyond Lamar.
I think Cole's going to be he might be a bigger rapper than receiver at this point.
Well, and he's another frustrated rapper, which scared me a little bit because he's starting to get, he's one of those guys. But Jerry, would you please snap out of it, wake up? I know he's getting up there in age. He has to nap through the off season, right?
We need him to wake up.
Yep.
He's got some work to do. I hope he's listening.
I think they're going to be all right.
I need you to be
I'm with
okay.
you. I
don't
hope
need you walking off the set anymore. It's just too stressful.
You know what? Last offseason nearly put me away, and this one, because they got off to such a hard, they were 3-5.
We remember.
And they got Amari Cooper 3-5. So do I have to do it again? Do I have to watch 3-5 until he finally goes and gets somebody? I don't know.
I don't want that for you. No more jerseys in the trash. That's too stressful.
Well, I overreact. I admit it. But it's only when it comes to this team.
Oh, okay. Well, here's the thing.
Do you realize how much Diet Mountain Dew I got bet on this team next year?
A lot. And Shannon's not here, but he can already say that he wants to win some of that due back. Okay. Yep. Odell Beckham, he's no longer in New York.
Yep.
And guess who we have next?
Oh,
Giants super fan Michael Rapaport gives his
out.
take. You love Dallas. This guy loves New York. He's going to give his thoughts on the trade next.
No mercy.
So back to the NFL we go. The Browns made a huge move yesterday by agreeing to trade for Odell Beckham Jr. The Giants will get a first-round pick, a third-round pick, and safety Jabril Peppers. Rumors of a Beckham trade have been around since last season. Our own Jay Glazer said it would happen, but the Giants GM said multiple times this offseason they wouldn't trade him. Beckham has 44 touchdowns in his first 5 years in the NFL. And we are joined by our friend, big-time Giants fan, Michael Rapaport. Good morning.
Do you have your seatbelt on?
Yes, I have my seatbelt on.
Are we going to be okay? We just need to hear your immediate reaction, Michael, to this news.
Okay. My personal immediate reaction, coincidentally, was my same personal immediate reaction when Kristaps Porzingis was traded. 2 times, and I'm not a napper, 2 times I've taken afternoon naps this year.
2 times?
Both times I woke up with buzzes ringing to find out that stars have been traded. Yep. My immediate reaction was, why can't a New York sports fan take a nap in peace? My immediate reaction and my question is why? Now, I will say this, okay, I am in Los Angeles, but I know for a fact that this morning, Lady Liberty, the Statue of Liberty, was weeping, walking around confused. I want to know why.
Wait, she was walking?
Yes, confused, with her head tilted down. We want her head up high.
Yeah, that would be a sight.
I don't know why. I don't know what we're doing. Are we tanking? What are we going to do? I don't know what to do with the jerseys. Poor Saquon Barkley, who I love. They're going to be able to stack the box on him. We have a 38-year-old quarterback. Even if we make more trades and we get a good rookie quarterback, the season is going to start with Eli Manning.
It will.
And yes, he gloriously beat Tom Brady in the Patriots twice. 2 times. And we can hang on to that, and he'll have our loyalty. But it is time to go. My initial reaction, why? I don't know why. I don't know what our plan is. I can't get excited for football. I can't get excited for the Giants if there's nothing to look forward to. No. I'm concerned that next year is going to be like we're like in some sort of remission year. I don't know what to do. So I don't understand why. And the quote that was it said shockwaves is we didn't sign Odell Beckham Jr. to trade him. And here we are.
Gettleman, yeah.
And here we are just a couple of months ago.
So my first question back to you is, why did Dave Gettleman give Odell all that money in the first place? Why did you do that? Because I'm not being hypocritical here. I'm not 20/20 hindsight. I sat right here and said, don't give him that much money. He won't be able to handle it. He hasn't earned it on or off the field to me because he's not a difference maker. What was your record? 25-34 with Odell in your starting lineup. I know he's not the quarterback, but that's the point. He's not the quarterback. So why would you give him that money? He's a diva wide receiver. It's a dependent position that can't change your life, especially when he's acting up, acting out off the field or on the sideline, because he became a caricature of himself for the New York media. He became Odell Beckham Jr. The worst thing that ever happened to you in your football watching life was that Odell made the greatest catch in the history of the world, right? And it was against my Cowboys on a night you lost. We won, and you lost twice because he became Odell Beckham Jr., OBJ. And he had to keep trying to live up to that with all of his antics, all the things that he did. And all I need to tell you is that he made that with that team, they made the playoffs one time. Yeah. And how did he prep for that game?
He went to Florida, and he did this when he dropped balls in the playoffs, which I never understand. Your hands have nothing to do with it. What are you looking at your hands for? Like this is something you bought at a store. They're your hands. Yeah.
Well, you took him to South Beach, so. Right?
They were still there. Yeah.
Skip, I don't know why they traded him. Nothing happened last year. Nothing happened in this offseason.
To me,
$100 million.
Okay.
And that's my point. Like, Skip, you mentioned all the antics, becoming a caricature, but that was before the contract. Again, last year, the only thing I can point to is the Lil Wayne interview.
That was upsetting, and that was a very upsetting.
But that's the only thing. There weren't.
I agree.
He didn't act like a dog in the end zone, and he didn't propose any inanimate objects or anything like that. Was in the past. And if the reports are right, that his only guaranteed money left on that deal was $17 million for this upcoming season, why not keep him one more season? And if it doesn't work out, then he wasn't guaranteed any more money. Then you could trade him or cut or whatever you want to do, move on.
I don't like any athlete in any sport talking about and insulting and throwing shade to any of their teammates. I don't think it's cool. I think you should talk to the person and keep a straight face to the media. I don't think you should throw quarterbacks, teammates under the bus. But I will say this in Odell's defense, and I've been on this show and I've been very upset with him, and I was on this show about you want to play in Los Angeles? Well, now you're not. You're in Cleveland now. Okay? I hope you don't like sushi. Okay? Because you're not going to have any sushi in
Cleveland's
Cleveland.
underrated.
There's no sushi restaurants.
I ate sushi in Cleveland. I swear I did.
Did you catch anything?
No, I think I was okay.
But I will say this, in Odell's defense, aside all the antics, he is a Ferrari, okay? And that Ferrari is going to be able to rev its engine because he's got a quarterback that likes to make plays. He's got another wide receiver that likes to make plays. He's got Kareem. He's going to be out there, and they're going to be a problem. And we're going to be reminded why OBJ is OBJ while he's out there. He's going to make plays, and he's going to have the opportunity to shine.
He might be ODB to some
people.
He might
hit,
right?
Possibly.
Right? So I'm going to try to make you feel a little better
Please
about this
do.
because
I'm leaning to
again,
your expertise here.
This was Antonio Brown all over again. They gave him his money. They immediately regretted it, and they said, how can we get out from under this monstrous contract? And they gave him away, and only one suitor wanted him. Oakland saved him and them because Oakland said, okay, we'll take the contract off your hands. We'll give you a third and a fifth. Well, in this case, you got a first-round pick. It's the 17th overall. Not bad, not great, but not bad. You got a third-rounder, and you got Jabril Peppers. And I don't know if you've kept up with him.
Good player.
He's going to be a really good player because he came on last year. I thought he was one of the top most improved players in the league.
Yes.
By the end of the year, he was wreaking havoc for a Greg Williams defense. Again, Greg no longer there. He's with the Jets. That's the best thing the Jets got going for him right now. But Jabril Peppers is going to make some Pro Bowls for you. Again, can you sell that?
No, you can't sell that.
Do people want to turn on the TV to watch Jabril Peppers roam in the secondary?
No, you can't.
Probably not.
No? Okay, I got it. So you lost star power, but you were going nowhere with Odell Beckham Jr. You were not going to win with him. He's
Not with that quarterback.
Okay,
Well, what if you had a good quarter? What if Haskins turns out to be really good and they draft him?
What if
kept
Baker Mayfield?
OBJ.
Baker Mayfield's going to remind us what Odell Beckham is right away.
I hope so.
When we listen, we could sit here and complain about Odell. I'm with you. I have screamed and yelled, insulted him, his hairdresser, all of it. I've insulted, but I'm telling you, when he's out there running and Baker Mayfield is extending plays, we're gonna be like, yeah, that's the guy, and that's the one thing. And I screamed and yelled when McAdoo tried to bench Eli Manning. I was offended by it, the way he did it.
You screamed and yelled in that chair.
Yes,
Yeah.
but Odell Beckham, when he's got a guy out there who could throw him the ball, a young guy, and my heart is with Eli, but he's 30. The time's over. So as much as Odell is frustrating, he's a football player. He is a ball player.
Does this make you feel better? Tanking for Tua.
No. I'm sick of
That's the
tanking
only
in New
thing
York.
that makes sense.
I am tired of tanking in New York. This is New York City. Listen, I can't take it anymore with the Knicks and the Jets and the Giants. I can't take any more tanking. I can't take. I don't know if this is some sort of thing like the rest of the world is trying to get back to us. We deserve better. This is New York, the greatest city in the world. That's a fact. Rome's great, Spain's great, LA's great, but none of those places are New York. They know it. Paris, it's not New York.
You know
we
what?
deserve better.
You're right.
We need a parade.
We deserve better.
You know, and tanking.
The Nets look pretty good.
That ain't a parade.
Yeah.
Chris,
Is that
I
really
need a
what you just
parade.
said?
I don't need looking good.
And by the way, tanking only works if it works. You know, like
Right.
you got to
No,
get
yeah.
something
Right,
back
right.
for it, and it never seems to pay off, right?
I can't
Every
take
blue
it.
moon.
Here's the problem with Odell in the Big Apple. There was one player missing from the Giants, and his name is Jarvis Landry. If you had had Jarvis Landry, you might have had a much better version of Odell Beckham Jr. because they aren't just close, those two. They are brother close. They are soulmate close. They were born about 3 weeks apart, November 1992. Both grew up in Louisiana. Both went to LSU where they got real close. And now they are reunited in Cleveland, and it'll be the best thing in the NFL career of Odell that has happened to him because that's what he wanted. Cleveland was his destination. From what I'm reading, that was the number one choice on his list just because of Jarvis. So can Jarvis keep him in bounds? I think so. He will listen to Jarvis, and I'm not sure he'll listen to anybody. I know our Chris Carter on First Things First is close to him. I don't think he'd listen to Chris quite the way, and Chris is in the Hall of Fame, but Jarvis has his ear. And again, will they be competing for footballs? Will that become a problem? Because there's only one football, but I think he's going to be okay. And listen, this receiving core now, I think it's the deepest, best in the NFL.
Not even close. Whew. Not even close. And I think that Jarvis and a quarterback that could throw him the ball because like I said, that Ferrari needs to go out for a test drive every now and then. It needs to vroom, vroom, and he's going to vroom, vroom. And I think between him, Jarvis, and winning some games and excitement and some speed, we're playing into Odell's strength. And I wish him luck. You know, he's been frustrating. I wish him luck. I just hope he's not looking for any great meals 5 nights a week out there in Cleveland. Shout out to Cleveland.
Okay, so Dave Gettleman, who's still a pretty new GM
Why isn't
for
he
you,
fired?
You know what?
That's what I was going to ask you.
Because he just admitted publicly, I made a huge mistake.
Sorry,
here,
so
right?
what?
Okay,
I made a huge
that's what he
mistake
just
too.
said.
I made a
He
lot of
just-
mistakes.
Okay, he
Bye-bye.
just said, I'm going to undo the huge mistake I made. I'm going to get out from under. Well, now you are starting
It's true.
over. Over.
Does he have some
Yeah.
plan that
Started
we're
over.
just
That's-
waiting to see?
And I don't think 5-year plans are in the NFL anymore.
I can't
You
take
turn it around quickly in the NFL, and they're not doing it.
I agree. And I don't think you get to make these mistakes, a $100 million mistake, and then
right.
go, oh, blah, 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 and then not explain it. And I love you, Jabril Peppers. He's a good player in draft picks. We need to come up with something because I can't start this season the way we started it last year, knowing the inevitable is coming.
Yep.
It's going to be worse.
Do you think you will watch Cleveland games next year?
I will watch Cleveland games.
Okay.
I think everybody's going
We
to be
all
watching
will.
Cleveland
I know.
games.
Right?
No, but
That's
I
like-
didn't know if you would.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it. I mean, that's kind of like, the Miami Heat Big Three down there. Like, that's going to be like must-watch football.
I used that analogy. I told you it's got, and especially if Earl Thomas goes there, then it's going to be like, uh-oh, here they come.
They have
And
guys.
again,
AFC North
You
champ.
do have a different Odell now also because he got humbled. It's like he woke up
Right.
and said, they dumped me?
I-
The Big Apple, the Giants dumped me? And now he's going to have a big chip on shoulder pads. Watch this, New York. I'll show you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I can't take it. I can't take any more tanking, baths, and I certainly can't take a nap. I'm not going to
Can't
take a
take a
nap.
nap.
An afternoon nap.
Seriously.
I feel like I work hard.
Lesson learned.
I earn an afternoon nap every now and then. You
Naps.
can't do it now.
Not when
with
you
your
nap.
city.
No.
Okay, no more sleeping for you. I'm sorry. I've got some more New York news we got to get to, Michael.
Yep.
Charles Barkley, well, he said Kyrie and Kevin Durant can't handle New York.
What?
Do these guys agree? We will discuss the latest next.
All right.
No mercy.
Rumors have been flying that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving will be a package deal when they are expected to hit free agency this offseason. The most popular rumored destination? The Knicks. But Charles Barkley doesn't think that's a good idea. He was asked what advice he would give Durant if he asked him about signing with the Knicks, and he didn't hold back. Barkley said, quote, "You ain't tough enough to play in New York. I don't think Durant or Kyrie are tough enough to play in New York. Kyrie's a very good player. Kevin's a great player, but I'm not sure they have the mental makeup to play in New York. Those guys are complaining about the media asking questions, but maybe New York isn't for them." We're joined once again by Michael Rapaport. Michael, do you agree with Barkley here?
I don't agree with Barkley in the long term. Now, I am frustrated with Kyrie complaining about the press.
Sure.
We didn't know you spoke to LeBron James. That was a private conversation. You chose to
is
share
true.
that.
Right.
No one knew about that.
No.
I speak to you, I speak to you. No one knows about this. Okay, so you brought that on yourself. So when the media wants to talk to you, maybe we don't know who else have you spoken to. Have you spoken to KD? Did you speak to Rod Strickland? Who have you spoken to? That being said, we as New York Knicks fans, we've never had two champions. The last time we've had players play for the Knicks that had rings and things is the great Willis Reed and those guys. Amari Stoudemire, a very good player. We knew he had an injury. Inevitably, we in our hearts, we knew that just wasn't going to get it done. Carmelo Anthony, no rings and things. So these guys, they've played on the biggest stages. It's the mecca of basketball. It's the city's game. We know they can get it done on the court. And I think that although they have both been sensitive, particularly this year, the New York fans, we come out in droves. And there hasn't been a highlight out of New York this season. The biggest highlight was James Dolan ejecting and banning a fan. That's the highlight of the season.
That's true.
That's the only thing. We haven't, there's been no highlights. Is this guy, this little guy with the funny teeth, banning a fan who paid. That's the only highlight we have. So I think we have a 2-year grace period. I think that the New York and the New York media will be so happy.
So you're saying they would take it easy on them, fans and media?
Well, the fans, we're going to just be happy. To see two guys out there putting up points and all that stuff, that we haven't had like excitement like that. And I think the media, they're going to do well. If they both come in, they're going to do well. And I think it'll take at least 2 seasons before people start breaking their chops.
Okay.
Kyrie, I don't know what you're talking about he seems like he doesn't want to be talked to, win, lose, or draw. You got to figure that out. Durant will be fine. Kyrie, just like, whoever you're speaking to, don't bring it up, okay? But in the short term, 2 years, we'll be fine. We'll win more games. We'll improve. There'll be excitement. There'll be highlights other than James Dolan throwing out fans. So my answer, long-winded answer is, I think that we will be fine if we get those two guys. And I'm praying, please come to New York.
Yes.
Please.
Okay, that's the fan perspective. Just so people know, you work for the New York Times and you covered the Knicks and the Nets. So you know what of you speak. You know you are inside the New York media covering basketball.
Yeah, and look, I do tend to agree that, especially with the fans, there will be I'd say a year or two grace period where, assuming, and they would, if Kyrie and KD go there, they would certainly be a really good team. They wouldn't be expecting championship or coming down on them if they didn't win a championship for at least a year and maybe 2, right?
Yes.
So it'd be 2 or 3 years before they really jumped on them. As far as the New York media, when I was the beat writer, that was early days of the internet. The internet wasn't what it was now. And the New York media was so different from media anywhere else. LA, Chicago, the only thing even close was Philadelphia. But New York media, with the sensationalism, with the back pages, it was aggressive, and players had a hard time dealing with it. Now, though, New York is still the top. But with the internet now, sensationalism has been brought all over the country.
Yeah.
And even no matter where you're at, you're still catching heat.
You're in it.
It's all over. You catch heat no matter where you are. Maybe not quite to the extent of New York, but you do catch heat. Now, to answer Barkley's question, both of them obviously have rabbit ears. Both of them obviously are sensitive. And I would not recommend that either one of them go there by yourself.
No, for sure.
No, do not go, because you won't win big, and then you will catch heat.
Be on you, okay.
But I do think if they go together, or one of them went with Anthony Davis or whatever, if they go with 2 stars, they'll be fine. These 2 guys, Kyrie, let's look at him. Kyrie just did a big mea culpa piece with Yahoo, where he said, I was wrong for the way I've handled things. I apologize. We know he apologized to LeBron. Like, I got to be honest. I'm looking at Kyrie, and I'm thinking, this is a young guy. He's only 26. He's still learning. He's not above saying, I get it now. I didn't get it then. I think he kind of said, look, I don't like the way the media handles things, but I kind of get it. I understand it now. So I think he's open to learning. And I think if he gets to New York, he'll kind of be like, look, this kind of comes with the territory. I was wrong initially in Boston. I think he can adapt. And KD and Kyrie, look, they're sensitive. You can say what you want about them clapping back at people and complaining. The good thing, though, it doesn't impact their play.
Not at all.
Like, some players can't hear all this stuff and play at the top of their game.
Sure.
KD can hear it, be upset, go off on the media. He texts me sometimes if he doesn't like something I said, and we'll go back and forth. But it doesn't impact his game.
Not at all.
He still goes out there and balls. And the same with Kyrie. Through all the ups and downs this season, he has still been a great player, probably his best season individually. So even if they are in New York and at times they go into a shell and they go off on the media at times, they still will bring it. And so I do think for all their issues, they can handle New York.
For one, actually, a couple times lately, I have agreed with Charles Barkley on this show, which is shocking.
It's been weird.
This time, he is completely wrong about this, and almost naively wrong. He is missing the boat on both these guys. To your point, I'm going to triple down on what you just said. In all my time of covering or closely observing superstars, the thinnest skinned superstar ever to me is Kevin Durant. And Kyrie's starting to threaten that. He's starting to challenge him. They are both social media victims to me because they read it and they respond to it and they let it go inside them. And it doesn't, not only does it not affect them, does it not hurt their play, it fuels their play. They both thrive on this. They would both thrive together. I agree with your together point in New York. They would constantly be at war with the media. There'd be nights they wouldn't talk. They'd clap back in big, group interviews. They'd be all over the media. They would fight the media. They would actually try to put the media back in its place.
But they're not good at it also. Neither one of them are good clappers.
They're not adapted.
They're just not. They're not good ranters. They don't talk good trash. Neither one of them
I have
are.
to help him out.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
And Kevin Durant actually had burner accounts. It's like, what?
Yeah,
You're
who has
Kevin
not?
Durant,
right?
But
What?
you know who the media does love and who is good with the media? Coach Fizdale. He handles it good. He's got a personality. He's fair. He's firm. He knows when to be tough. He'll rant when he needs to. So I think if they came to New York, they'll do their little things, but I don't think it's as big as impact as people say, because number one, it doesn't affect their play. And I think New York will get off on it. And the fans, to see that kind of craziness in the Garden every single night and what they do, and I mean craziness as far as their skills, there will be elation. There will be sincere elation. That's New York basketball. Like, they'll be adored and loved by the fans every single night. So what? They make some weird rants and comments. We'll take it.
Okay, what did Kevin? Kevin had the weight of the NBA world on his shoulders going into the first finals with Golden State against LeBron. And what did he do? The NBA was the world's waiting for him to fall on his face. He left Russell Westbrook and joined forces with Stephen Clay and Draymond. And what did he do? He won MVP, and then he backed it up by winning MVP again.
I'm not worried about it.
Come on, man.
I'm not worried about it.
Kyrie hit the shot of shots.
He's
Game
ridiculous.
7 at Oakland.
We deserve it.
Okay?
This is the city game. We need basketball. These guys are beautiful players.
You know what?
Come
Those
to New
two
York,
guys.
guys.
Those two guys get what it would mean to you for them to win a championship.
Oh, my God. Imagine we split it. Both of them on the Empire stapled, and two. It would be gorgeous. Kevin Durant, thin shoulders, Empire stapled long and high. It would be just beautiful. Come to New York.
Like a banner that would reach the top.
Oh, light them up. It'd be and Kyrie, I mean, he plays like a New York City street ball player. Like
His
all that
dad's
stuff.
from New York City.
The Statue of Liberty would be like.
Oh, the Statue of Liberty wouldn't even be thinking about Odell Beckham.
They haven't had a player as exciting as Kyrie in New York since Earl the Pearl. That type of game, that type of street game.
Does anybody remember Earl the Pearl?
Right. Not very
You
few of these young kids.
You should.
Oh, man. It would Kyrie. I mean, he does stuff that they do in the park. I mean, it would be beautiful.
It was 1973.
Yes.
That's the last championship.
Yikes.
Rolls-Royce backcourt.
We need this for you, Mike.
Oh, please. And it's not just me. The fans.
Yeah.
The fans in the cheap seats need it. They deserve it. We've been through too much. We got an owner who's throwing out fans during games, banning them.
Yes.
The same goons he sent after my guy Charles Barkley, he sent after a fan, Charles Oakley.
Yeah,
Those same goons.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, there's one guy who needs those two worse. He's playing here in L.A.
I think you want them in L.A. more than New York, don't you? Those two.
It would just be fun. It would be more fun for me, but I'm not a Knicks fan.
Skip.
Well, seriously.
And I think it would be fun if those two go to New York and AD gets traded to the Lakers.
Listen,
with
AD
you.
is not enough for LeBron at this stage of his career. It's not enough
They
to
might
win
be able
a
to get Jimmy
championship.
Butler with him.
You know,
As a
the
third
only
guy.
thing you'd have going is that Kevin is no longer in the Bay Area.
That'd be good.
Right? Okay,
Okay.
that would
Be
help.
open.
That would
Yeah,
help.
well, LeBron, give him Kevin, give him AD. He needs like 17 people with him. He needs like he can't do it. He needs like 50. He's the greatest player in the world. He needs the entire All-Star roster with him.
Hey.
Klay Thompson, send down Steph. He needs him too.
LeBron took over a game in Chicago in
great.
MJ's house last
He
night.
dominated last night.
Doing
I noticed
beautiful
you didn't
dunks.
put that on the on the
know if
top.
it's
Yeah,
worth
and
doing.
Chicago
He
is
was
now
so dominant.
19-50 for the year, right? 19
Something to really be proud of.
Really
Big
proud
win
For the
last
Lakers,
night.
any win is good.
Honestly, at least
Any
they
win
got
is a
one
good
at this
win.
point.
Yeah, they
Okay,
got one.
Michael, it's
Yeah.
good to have you with us always. Thank you for
Hang
being
in
here. Was Le'Veon Bell a big winner or big loser in free agency? We've got Reggie Bush.
Oh,
He's here
here we
next.
go.
He's going to help us answer that question.
No mercy.
Le'Veon Bell is a New York Jet. The former Steeler agreed to a 4-year deal with the Jets for just over $52 million with $35 million guaranteed. Bell sat out all of last season because of a contract dispute with the Steelers, and he will actually make less per year than he was slated to make under the franchise tag with Pittsburgh. We are joined by our new Fox football analyst, Reggie Bush. Good to have you with us.
Welcome to
Thank
the
you.
team.
Yes,
There you go.
and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
It's going to be a fun football season,
It
but
is.
first we've got to talk about the NFL, and we'll get college stuff
Yeah.
later. So, Reggie, did Le'Veon win or lose in this deal?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think he won because he got $35 million guaranteed as a 27-year-old running back.
Okay.
And what position on the football field ages faster than running backs,
You
right?
would-
Like,
you would know.
I would know, right? And I don't know where this kind of narrative started, but it's like when you get past 25 and you start getting close to 26, 27, and you've had a lot of carries, And maybe you get injured once or twice, things like injury prone. He lost a step. He's getting older. Those things start to follow
you. Where did it hit you? Can you remember what
It hit
year?
me at 29. So it was my second year in Detroit. I was 29 years old. This was 5 years ago. And so my first year in Detroit, me and Joique Bell, we set a record for most yards and touchdowns by a running back tandem.
Okay.
And so the next year, I got injured. I had a high ankle sprain, and it kind of nagged throughout the season. I didn't really get healthy towards the end of the season. And then I got released after that year. And so I was due $8 million on a 4-year contract. And they cut me because they wanted to get younger, and they didn't want to go cheaper. Right? And so they brought in these younger guys who they felt like were going to give them the same production.
How was your speed at that point?
My speed was still great. I was
Quickness,
still explosive. I still had my speed. I still had my burst. I didn't lose a step.
Okay.
But they brought in these
And
younger.
you ran at the combine
4.33. Yeah, I ran 4.33.
I know.
So
If only.
That's
I was still
Big
explosive.
Yeah.
I was still explosive, and I still could play at a high level. So when I got injured,
And you weren't like punishing between the tackles back.
No, I was never that. Ever in my career, I was never that. And so they cut me because they wanted to get younger and cheaper. Well, they just found a 100-yard rusher this football season.
I know, that's true.
For the first time since me.
Since
So
you. Okay.
to me, what that says is, again, the running back position, for whatever reason, ages faster than any other position on this field. And so for Le'Veon Bell, he got $35 million guaranteed, and I know people look at, well, he would have made more on that franchise tag, right? Which is true, but he would have played on a 1-year deal. And so playing on a 1-year deal, if you get injured as a running back, he's about to be 27 years old, those things will start to follow him, and it would have been tough for him to get this contract because he has been injured before, and he has had a lot of carries in Pittsburgh.
And a lot of touches.
And a lot of
He catches
touches.
a lot of passes.
Yeah, he had a lot of touches, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm glad you made that point because he accounted for about 50% of that production, that offense. It was him and Antonio Brown. Juju Smith was not what he is right now, right? And so for him, he's looking at this thing like, well, AB just got paid. So now it's my turn to get paid. And they wanted to box him in as a running back. He's saying, no, wait a minute. I'm more than a running back. I'm the workhorse because I play receiver and running back. So I'm your workhorse. AB is, for the glitz and glamour, but for me, I'm the guy who's putting in the real work here. So I want to get paid like that. I don't want to get paid like a running back. And what did Pittsburgh do? They wanted to box him into a category as a running back.
Just for perspective, your first few years in New Orleans.
In New Orleans, yes.
How many touches? Like, would you be down the list in total touches?
Yeah. I didn't have a lot of touches
So
because
it
we had
spared
multiple
you,
running backs.
Like it kept some years on
It
your
did.
life,
I agree.
right?
Yes,
Okay.
I agree. It didn't stop me from getting injured though.
It did
right?
not.
I still got injured.
It's a hard game, man.
It is.
Le'Veon Bell, over his first 5 years, had the second most touches to LaShawn McCoy in the National Football League. And then in 2017, his last year that he played, he had the most touches. So he's taken a lot of punishment and abuse. And I always say this about, I love the Dallas Cowboys and I love Zeke. He is high collision. He's kind of the flip side of you because sometimes Zeke looks for contact. Like he looks to run through the brick wall.
Yes, he does.
And he will run through it on
he
occasion. And he runs with his heart, man. But the rest of you can't take it. You can't take that kind of pounding. So I say his window will close.
I agree.
Pretty quickly.
Well, look what they did to DeMarco Murray.
I know.
Same thing.
A
lot of touches.
High collision.
Got rid of him.
High collision. And we know what happened once upon a time to Earl Campbell where you just
Exactly.
can't do that. After a while, you're going to pay for that the rest of your life,
100%,
right?
100%.
So with Le'Veon, there's not that much tread left on the tires, which is why I think he lost. If I'd played this for him, if I'd advised him, I'm taking the 14.5 last year because you can't ever recoup that. And I would have played it out, hoped to have a good to very good year.
It's a lot of hope.
I know, but then I think you could have gotten more money because you'd have had a bigger market. Because now people are looking back like skeptically, like, are you all in? Or do you really want this? Did you stay in great shape? I kept reading reports, and I have no idea how true they are, that he gained some weight because you're probably just going to gain weight He's not a workout warrior like Adrian Peterson is, right? Not like you. I see you in the gym all the time. He still gets after it.
Seriously?
Right? You see me in that gym still getting it.
He gets
No
after
way.
it. No, he gets after it.
love
And every
that.
time I see him in the gym, he's like bigger than I think. Because I was at USC, I thought you were like a scat back,
Yeah.
but you're.
It's official.
You're bigger.
He's watching your.
Yeah.
What did you weigh at USC?
I got the proof.
I don't know, like
205.
205. So
Okay.
it's not like you're a little guy. It's not like you're 180. Or,
Right.
Okay. So Le'Veon, he finds himself on a market that dwindles down to nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted Le'Veon Bell because they're all a little skeptical. So he was very lucky. The Jets needed some star power. They need a marquee, something to sell. Something.
They need a splash.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And he's a splasher. He's going to splash in New York next year.
Yeah.
Will he change their life? No, I don't think so because I just don't think they're good enough. I'm not sure about the young USC quarterback going in his second year.
I would
He
agree with all of that.
struggles.
Yep.
Okay.
I would agree with all that.
They're in a division owned by Brady and Belichick, so it's going to be hard to compete in that division.
Gates knows all about that
Yeah.
division.
What's that?
Adam Gates knows all about
Gates?
that division.
No, that's a very, very good point. And in the end, Le'Veon, he got an okay deal. And to your point, it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
And it's second best to Todd Gurley's deal.
Yes. Yeah.
I think New York was bidding against itself because I think they didn't have to give him this deal. I think they gave him this much because they didn't want an unhappy camper. Like you can't just shame him. You know,
I agree.
If you can't just hold him up,
Yeah.
and then expect him to come in and be enthusiastic about playing for the Jets.
I agree.
So to me, in the end, he's going to go to a team where he's been used to winning and competing for championships. Every time he stepped on the field in every August for the Pittsburgh Steelers, you think in your heart of hearts, we got a shot,
the year.
right?
It's gonna be the year for him.
Maybe this
Yeah.
time we break through against Brady and Belichick
Yeah.
in the AFC Championship game,
Yeah.
right? But in this case, he's going to a team that doesn't really have a chance next year that I can see.
Yeah.
So if they get off wrong, if they get off slow, get off cold, I know what he is. He's going to sulk. He's going to pout. He's going to say, what am I doing? Where am I? And then maybe his thoughts are going to go to his rap career, which I think is dear to his heart. I think he really wants to rap. I mean, he does rap.
Yeah.
He's on a bigger
His
stage
free
where he can
time.
promote that. So I just don't know if he's going to be worth even this much to this
The
team.
one thing, I just want to go back to one thing you said. You said that, well, he could have played on this one-year deal and hoped for. In the NFL, we can't live on hope. In the NFL, there's contracts and there's business, and that is it. There's no hope of, I hope next year I'm going to make this amount of money. I hope this year, because when the NFL is done with you, you're not getting it back. I don't care what you try to do. You try to unretire, you are not getting it back, right? And Adrian Peterson, one of my good friends, and I love him to death. I studied him while I played in the league, but he is not going to get the respect that in a contract that he may want for the body of work that he's put in throughout the course of his career, right? I think we can agree on that, right?
Yep.
And so eventually that's going to happen to Le'Veon Bell. Everybody gets old in this league. Everybody goes through it, especially running backs, and we get old faster than any other position.
You
so
do.
for him, getting this kind of money right now at 27 years old, this is a win for him because we don't get another shot at another contract.
Yep.
This is it.
This is it.
This is his last contract. So it's had to
That is
work
it.
out for him.
Yeah.
He had no choice. This had to work out for him.
Okay. So speaking of New York, another superstar left New York
Yeah.
for Cleveland, Odell Beckham Jr. Your
feel bad
thoughts
for New York
were
right now.
what?
Boy, seriously.
Well, listen, I think the Giants are going to regret this trade because now defenses can just stack the box. Now it's simple for defenses, right? And I don't know who they're going to get in the draft, who they're going to make a trade for, because they need a quarterback. They need some more receivers. They need some players, right? They got Saquon Barkley. And so as a defensive coordinator right now, without going through the draft and whoever else they may get, I'm stacking the box. I'm putting 8 to 9 guys in the box, and I'm making sure the focal point of this offense is Saquon Barkley. I need to stop Saquon Barkley. I'm not worried about Eli's arm. I'm not worried about any of these other receivers. Sterling Shepard, I think he's great, but Sterling Shepard, they need other pieces to that
Evan
puzzle.
Ingram, they got.
Evan Ingram. And so right now, to me, this just does not look, I don't know how fans go to the games and how they can be happy. How can they be energetic about what they're going to see, what kind of production they're going to get. John Dorsey is quickly becoming one of my favorite general managers in the NFL.
He's becoming like an internet hero.
He really is, because from the day he stepped foot on the Cleveland Browns territory, he has done nothing but just sign great players, great talent. And his narrative, he's saying it loud and clear, like, listen, we want to win, and we want to win right now. And had Baker Mayfield started off the season last year, they would have made it to the playoffs. They 100% would have made it to the playoffs.
Oh, I know.
Before the year,
I would love another Hard Knocks.
Start him from the start, they're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And
now,
what were they 7-8-1? I think they could have won a couple more games.
Yeah, and now they're going from, I picked them to win the division. Now we're talking about legitimate Super Bowl contenders for the Cleveland Browns.
You'd go that far?
I'd go that far, yes.
I'm a little
Who in that
skeptical.
division is going to stop Odell, Jarvis Landry, Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb? Don't forget, they signed Kareem Hunt. They still got
Duke Johnson.
Yeah, Duke Johnson. They got a lot of players on that team right now.
It's
and
the deepest receiving core in the league.
The Baltimore Ravens got worse on defense.
They keep getting worse by the day, and they lost C.J. Mosley, and they haven't added anybody, and I don't know what they're doing. So they're out. They are out. I still like Pittsburgh a little better because I'm not sure about Cleveland's defense. I'm just not sure. They lost Greg Williams, their coordinator, who I'm a huge fan of.
I love Greg. Greg Williams helped me win the Super Bowl. So I love Greg Williams. I love Greg
big
Williams.
loss for them.
Yes, I remember when Greg Williams came on a recruiting trip to New Orleans, and we walked past each other in the hallway, and I pulled him aside. I said, if you come here, we will win a Super Bowl.
Really?
And sure enough, he signed the next year. He brought this aggressive defensive mentality. It was the one thing we were missing. We had a great offense. We had always had a great offense since my rookie year. But when Greg Williams came in, he brought a defensive mentality that changed our whole team. It changed our franchise. It changed our approach to every game. And we felt like it's us against everybody else. And we felt like there's nobody that can beat us. And so I'm a huge Greg Williams fan.
Unfortunately, there was a bounty bowl that occurred thanks to Greg Williams.
It was.
You got after Brett Favre, but you got after him.
Yeah, we did.
You know, by hook or crook, you got after him. You won the game. You won the Super Bowl. So before we let you go, you're going to be doing college football. And I know you've been watching Kyler Murray.
I have, yeah.
Project him. Would you take him first overall? Is he going to be a star, a superstar?
I think when I turn on the film and I watch Kyler Murray, I see a very, very talented quarterback. Forget about the height, right? Because I played with a guy, Drew Brees, who a lot of people said once upon a time he was too short, right? And every time I played with Drew, I never felt like, he was too short. Like I couldn't see him, or there was something about his height that affected me.
What are you? What do you say? Are you 6'?
I'm 5'11".
5'11".
Yes.
Was he?
Drew's 6 foot.
I know. Was he? Did he feel like he was an inch above you?
No, I never felt like height was an issue because he played big. And he has a high release point when he throws a football. And so when I turn on the film and I watch Kyler Murray, I see very similar characteristics. I see a guy who can play football, who loves the game, who makes the players around him better. He can extend plays in different ways than Drew Brees and Tom Brady, because I truly believe that a lot of these organizations maybe need to go through some kind of divorce counseling, because everybody's looking for the next Tom Brady, right? They're looking for the next Peyton Manning, the pocket passer quarterback, but more and more quarterbacks coming out of college football look like Russell Wilson. They play like Colin Kaepernick, right? They play like Aaron Rodgers, who's a scrambler, right? And so Andrew Luck, Carson Wentz, the list goes on. More and more quarterbacks are playing like this. And so when you have quarterbacks like Kyler Murray coming out of college and he's shorter and he's a more of a elusive style quarterback, this is what we're seeing more and more often of quarterbacks coming out of the league, right? And so the other narrative that I didn't like was how it got somehow to where he's not a leader. He wasn't great on board.
Wrong.
I don't understand how from one meeting you can say that a guy's not a leader, because I need to talk to his coach. I need to talk to players. They all say a different tune. They all say, no, this guy loves football.
That is correct.
He is football first, and he has a lot of potential. And that's the one thing that organizations should be excited about, his potential.
You're right. Well, we agree about that.
Yeah.
Either way, Reggie, good to have
Thank
you.
you.
Great
We want to
job.
say
Way to
congrats
go.
again about the brand new Fox College Football pregame show. So it's a busy table. We've got Urban Meyer, we've got Matt Leinart, we've got Brady Quinn, but I feel like you're going to be fine holding your own.
be all right.
That's
I'll be all right.
exciting.
I think you'll be the star of that group.
All right,
Appreciate
either
it.
way,
Thank you.
appreciate your time for being here. Jay Glazer is next. We've got a lot more free
here we go.
agency talk to get to. Stay with us.
No mercy.
Well, the Browns made a huge move yesterday by agreeing to trade for Odell Beckham Jr. The Giants will get a first-round pick, a third-round pick, and safety Jabril Peppers. There was one man that predicted this would happen, and that's our very own Jay Glazer, who wrote last month that the Giants would trade Odell. And hey, Jay, he joins us now. How
Hey,
did you
it is an
feel?
honor to have
It
you at
is.
the
Appreciate
Undisputed desk.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Why did you feel so strongly that this would happen?
I have issues, clearly.
No,
That's it.
no.
You know what? Look, I don't put things out there unless I know them. I care more about me being 100% right. I'd rather have broken 5 stories, but I got them all right, than I break more stories than everybody else and I got 5% wrong. So it's important to me. And I put some wild stuff out there, but I want people to know, you watch Fox NFL Sunday, and I say something so outlandish like I did a few years ago that Jim Harbaugh would be out as head coach of the 49ers at the end of the season. Even if they won the Super Bowl, you could take it to the bank. So I'm very conservative of what I put out there, even if it sounds incredibly outlandish. I put this
Do you
out.
feel pressure to go a little farther when you don't have it 100%?
No, I've got to have it 100%. That's what I care about most. I don't want to put something out there, and that's my name. That's our responsibility to the other guys on that show as well. So when I put this out there, I'd already known that the Giants made their mind up. I put it as a prediction, but the Giants had a conversation literally about a week beforehand that they were going to move on from Odell, and
Was ownership involved in the decision?
ownership was involved? Yeah, obviously. So last year, during the season, teams were calling the Giants to try to trade for Odell. And when it got to ownership, I think Mr. Tisch, most notably, they kind of said, no, we're not ready to do that. Okay. And by the way, last year before the season, the Giants were looking like they were going to move on. Pat Shurmur came in and saved him. Said, no, I got him. I can get him on board with me. I want this talent. I want him here. Then a lot of things happen during the year. He does the interview with Lil Wayne and all that. And then it just kind of goes downhill. And at the end of the year, when he pulled his quad, he wasn't even there. They were just like, hey, just hang out over here. Don't worry. And all of a sudden they started playing well. So I think after that, they just look, there's nothing wrong with Odell. Great kid, incredible work ethic, great teammate.
Sure.
But sometimes it's like a marriage that your passion's just gone. It's just time to move on. Let's just be friends and write each other letters and check on each other's new families. It's kind of how it went. But in the end here, when the Giants ownership blocked it during the season, when they met about a week before I put out that prediction, they were all on board. Okay, it's time to move on. It just became too much, is how I'd like to say it.
Yeah.
So just for the record, before they gave him the biggest wide receiver deal in the league, I said there's no way I'm going to commit that much money to that guy who's had that many issues in New York City.
Right.
And they did. That's the bigger shock of this to me is they gave him his money, and it was just a year ago. Then what changed? Because the only thing that really happened last year that I know of was the Lil Wayne ESPN interview. And he said some things about Eli, coaching staff.
And New York.
Right. And I want to be in L.A., all the above.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that just burned the bridge to the ground.
It wasn't just that. If you go look at the Giants, they got the worst body language of any team out there. Yeah. Every time something happens with Eli, Odell, and now he leaks into the other receivers, they do this. It's a pity party over there. And, look, their offensive line was terrible. They had a lot more issues going into the year than we thought. They brought in Nate Solder. They got Saquon. Everybody thought, okay, great. This team's going to be terrific. There's a reason why they have the second pick of the draft the year before that. There's a lot of holes they had to fill. But again, they were, the owners' meeting, which is coming up upon us, last year's owners' meeting, John Mara had some pretty, strict things to say about Odell then.
He did.
Right? Yeah. And so it shouldn't come as such a surprise.
That was after the Paris hotel room incident, remember?
Paris hotel?
Yeah.
Paris was at L.A.
Some
which
pizza,
I don't know.
some
Paris.
makeup.
Oh, that was Paris?
Some
I thought it was here in L.A.
It was abroad, I think.
It was Paris.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was going on.
There's a lot of stuff in there.
And, like I said, Pat Shurmur, head coach, comes in, and Pat's like, look, I understand the issues. Because back then, too, when we talked to a lot of teams. When I was talking to the Giants, I'm like, this is your time to get, as much as you possibly can before more things can come out or more drama or more, because if you guys don't do well this year, there's going to be more drama. So I think Odell's trade value would have been higher last year than it was this year.
So it still looks like to me that they just undid an admitted big mistake that they made giving the contract out. We want to get out from under it. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I think it was.
I don't know.
For them, it was addition by subtraction.
Do they share the blame for that contract? Should everybody, including Dave Gettleman, have to be held accountable?
Absolutely. Look, you've got to, put value on. I think they put value on best possible scenario instead of all the scenarios.
So now Odell goes to Cleveland, and I read that
they did Hard Knocks 1 year too early, didn't they?
I was going to say, can we do it again? I want to watch this year.
But I read or have heard that was his first choice because of Jarvis Landry, that they're so close that now he's got his soulmate back. He is reunited.
Well, I think LA would have been that's where he really wanted to go. But being with Jarvis, yes. But also, here's the thing. Baker Mayfield's a gangster. Right.
He is.
Those two guys aren't going to run over Baker Mayfield. He's not going to be able to tell him, hey, I was open. They're not going to do that. Baker Mayfield is different and the type of guy that I think will fit in perfectly with those two guys. He's not going to sit there and get rattled in the huddle if he's not throwing the ball enough to somebody. He'll check them, put them both in their place. I think team-wise, personnel-wise, this is actually the perfect place for Odell to go to because he needs somebody like that.
How good do you see the Browns being? What's their ceiling this year?
Well, look, we trained the Browns last year for a month in our MMA program. So myself, Randy Couture, Chuck Liddell, all of us went out there for a month in Cleveland and trained them.
Wow.
And day one, and these guys don't know much about football, they saw Baker and they're like, that guy's a little different, isn't he? And gangsters understand gangsters. They reckon, not me, those guys. But that's all on offense. But the guy, and last year, the most athletic, strongest dude who's ever put his hands on us was Myles Garrett. Oh, my God. He was. Wow. And we've trained Jadeveon Clowney's and Clay Matthews and just a million of these guys over the years. Michael Bennett, whoever. This guy has the potential to be a future Hall of Famer, incredibly disruptive on that side of the ball. So defensively, they have a lot going for them also there. That team is putting together some really good building blocks. And offensively, look, I think this league is going to get to where you're going to have to play catch up with teams like the Kansas City Chiefs. That's where this league is going, right? Because all the rules, and the Browns are doing exactly that.
Would you give them the edge over Pittsburgh right now?
Oh, yeah.
Would you? Okay.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It seems like so many personalities wouldn't work, but when you put it that way, they all gel, it makes sense.
Don't forget also, they still have Kareem Hunt if he can get out of his own way and
what's
gets
your
back
guess
in.
on the suspension?
I have no idea. I don't know because they're still, I don't know that yet.
Too early. Okay, we have a lot more to get to with you, Jay. So good to have you with us. Skips Cowboys, we got to talk about it.
We do.
Le'Veon Bell, all the free agency moves. That's coming up.
No mercy.
Well, the other huge move in New York last night was Le'Veon Bell was going to the Jets. The three-time Pro Bowler agreed to a 4-year deal for just over $52 million with $35 million guaranteed. Bell sat out all of last season, and he will actually make less per year than he was slated to make under the franchise tag with Pittsburgh. Jay Glazer is still with us. Jay, what do you make of this contract?
I think that it showed that Le'Veon, in my opinion, made the wrong move last year. We always said this is going to be 14 plus that he can never make up, depending on what the next contract is. He really needed to make up all that lost money in this, and he didn't. In fact, it averages out to a little less than 14 a year. So that's a significant chunk of change that you can never, ever make back in a position that has the shortest shelf life in the NFL.
So it sounded like in the end that the Jets were bidding against themselves because it sounded like everybody had dropped out. Is that pretty much?
Skip, it was so bad yesterday there were a lot of favors going on yesterday amongst others in the media of just trying to help out Le'Veon Bell's guy. And there was the Jets and, because there's a lot of things that go on here. One, teams always look at it skill versus circus, right? Skill, no question. But he brought a big circus too. If he had just played last year, you're just going by the skill, there would have been a lot of bidders, I think. But a lot of teams said, we just don't want to deal with the circus. They also heard how much money he was going to want. all the different things that are being put out there. It's incredible how many teams will hear something, even from social media, and they'll buy it. And they'll go, oh, I hear he wants this. We're not going to do it. I hear he wants quarterback money. We're going to bail out. They don't even bother calling the agent. So, in the end there, I think Le'Veon, he overplayed his hand. And that's, look, I know we can say, well, he got to take a year off. You're missing out on $15 million. And also, being away from the guys, it's not what you want. The locker room, when you retire from the NFL, it's the locker room. So, dudes, that's what you miss the most. And he missed a year of that.
And Pittsburgh's locker room pretty much quit on him, it sounded like, right?
No, well, it was the other way because they thought he was coming in. They truly thought he was coming in. And, they were given every indication. When it didn't happen, they looked at it like, hey, you're telling, you could tell us, be straight with us, but don't play us as well. And I think that's where they got a little, hurt with that.
So what will he mean to the Jets at this stage of his career?
It'll be interesting with him and Adam Gase. But, Adam Gase does have a very good offensive mind. But Adam Gase is like set in his ways. And that's really what happened with Miami. It was almost like to the owner, like, hey, this is what I do. Just leave me alone. Let me coach the team and you go own the team. And it's not kind of really how Mr. Ross is down there. But I think Adam Gase, with the way he runs an offense, he's going to find an awful lot of ways to use Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell is a different type of player. He's not just a running back. He's a hybrid. He does all these different things. He's a matchup nightmare for safeties, for wide receivers, for cornerbacks. Use them the right way, he absolutely is worth the money.
Do you expect Tom Brady to show any decline at age 42 next year?
I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't either.
Right? I haven't seen it.
We haven't seen it.
But the thing that Tom does that's different than everybody else is Tom figures ways to outwork the world as he gets older. What can I do? The great ones do that. How can I – a lot of guys come out of college and they're like, hey, what I did in college, like what got me to succeed there, I'll just use that in the NFL. That's not the case. You got to work yourself. You got an extra 20 hours a day to work on your craft. Tom does. And that's why in every way possible. And that's why he's able to continue to really beat back Father Time. That's why guys like him or Drew Brees or the Andrew Whitworths of the world, their work ethic, it's just different.
So I can't let you go without asking about my Dallas Cowboys because they've been all too quiet once again through another offseason. Obviously, they're waiting to pay a whole bunch of star talent on the offensive side, and they've paid a whole bunch of offensive line talent. Do you expect them to do anything else free agent-wise, any acquisitions?
As I was told yesterday, wait for all the craziness to end. And it's not just them. There are teams with a lot of cap room who texted exactly that. We're going to wait for this foolishness to end.
Really?
Okay.
Yes. Wait for it to end, and then you'll get some good deals. I will say this. One thing, the Dallas Cowboys, they don't get enough credit because they're such a circus in what they do there. But them as a GM, they have drafted incredibly well over the last couple of years by putting in the right kind of guys, those offensive linemen, by putting in the defensive back there. They're real by bringing in a Leighton Vander Esch and not pulling the plug on, in the past, they couldn't resist temptation. Last couple of years, they have, and they've built a really solid nucleus over there.
I think they'll miss Cole Beasley at least a little bit. He's a little guy, but they're going to miss him a little bit.
But they could replace him with a similar type player in the draft. I do agree with you. It's just locker room type guy. They're going to have to, again, draft well. They're going to have to bring in those other weapons. Now they got a guy like Amari Cooper in there who we're down at the Pro Bowl, and they're talking like, hey, we've got to teach him an awful lot of things. I think Amari's just like we talk. He's like, I'm good. I can eat whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. And a lot of guys like Dak and those guys down there, they don't. Those guys work. Dak works. Obviously, Jason Witten works. And I think Amari Cooper is just going to get better and better being around those guys.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's
feeling better?
Something to hold on to, right?
Okay, it's been a
They
tough
got a
couple
good.
days
No.
for
Just wait. They'll add in. They don't need an awful lot. Look what they just did.
Right.
They don't need an awful lot.
You feel okay?
Not really, but I'll try.
Either way,
I tried
it's
for you,
better
man.
than
I tried for
nothing.
you.
Jay, always good to have you.
Thank
You're a
you,
busy
guys.
guy,
Thank you.
making time for Undisputed. Next up, should the Warriors be scared of the Rockets in the West? We'll discuss next.
No mercy.
Time for our final topic of the day. Steph Curry said earlier this week that tonight's game in Houston is a, quote, statement game. The Warriors are 0-3 against the Rockets this season, but they'll be without Kevin Durant tonight because of an ankle injury. So, Chris, is Houston a real threat to Golden State?
The Rockets couldn't leave well enough alone. Skip, they should have learned their lesson. Like, they have awoken Steph Curry. The sleeping giant that is Steph Curry.
With their mouths?
Yes.
Okay.
Remember last year when Clint Capella said they're better than Golden
did.
State?
Yeah, I
Now,
forgot
they
about
did
that.
play them tough, but they lost. Yeah. And now Capella's saying, well, it might be a statement game for them, not for us. Mike D'Antoni saying they should have said that statement game before Phoenix. And, come on, just play your game. You're playing well. Let your game speak for yourself. Don't rile them up. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say this. I think 80% Golden State, 20% Rockets when they meet in the conference finals. I give the Rockets a 20% chance. Their best bet is it like last year, if they can get it into like a one-on-one, ISO game with the switching. Because remember, Kevin Durant kind of faded away from the offense.
It was the first time in his stay in Golden State where I said, wait a second, where are you, Kevin?
Right, right. And he went in the ISO mode.
Yep.
And the Warriors are not as together this year, obviously, as they were last year. So maybe they're more susceptible to that. So I think that's the Rockets' best chance. But I'm heavily with the Warriors.
I'm not heavily. I'm getting more skeptical by the day. Now we had the Steve Kerr lip-reading episode in which it looked like he said, I'm so bleeping tired of Draymond's you-know-what.
You don't buy his I beg to differ with Draymond,
right? I think
right?
just made a joke of it, and then Draymond tried to shrug it off, but neither really denied it because Draymond's saying, well, coaches get tired of players and players get tired of coaches. Well, I think they're getting worn out of each other, and it seems to all circle around Draymond. He seems to be at the epicenter of this, the issues going on with this team. Obviously, he and KD had a big issue, so it feels troubled at its core to me. Houston had them dead to rights last year until Chris Paul got hurt, and now Houston's won all 3 games, and I think Golden State gets a break tonight that Kevin isn't going to play because if he played and they lost again straight up, 4-0,
it would really look bad.
Now
you're right.
It takes a little the onus off tonight. Cleveland's now favored by 3. Houston's favored by 3.5, and so they'll probably win the game, and it won't matter because we'll discount it because there's no KD. But in the end, the Rockets look, and I've been watching them a lot, they look legit to me. They play with a body language like they believe they can do this. James Harden looks different this year to me. He looks more in control and command of his emotions and himself. So with Capella back and Chris Paul back, they look like a legit threat. I'd go more 60-40 Golden State.
60-40, wow. And their defense is back. Remember earlier in the year, most of the year, they couldn't play defense. Now with Fareed, obviously still P.J. Tucker, Capella's back. They're playing good defense.
I'm an Austin Rivers fan. We've had him on the show.
Yeah, I like
him. I just like him.
He's tough.
He's tough, and he's not afraid, and he brought a little spirit to that team that it didn't have. He'll take and make big shots.
I thought about, what'd you think? I thought maybe the Rockets should sit a couple of their stars.
You know what? That
would
would be a pop move.
Right. Like, so if you lose, it's not a big deal, and the Warriors can't take much stock in it.
Will we see some kind of a statement?
No mercy.
Thanks for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm Jenny Taft. Join us again at the same time tomorrow morning, 9:30 Eastern. We'll see you then.
Fox Sports, one of one.